This
Install this.
conference will now be recorded.
On the
I'm
top
sorry.
of that, we'll be installing this application, VMware application, I mean, like call manager and all, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
the same, it will be the same stuff, but it will be on the internet. Is that right?
correct. So now your interaction with the VMware is the same because the server is the same, whether it is coming from cloud or whether it is coming from virtual machine.
Yeah.
So so what Amazon is using the hypervisor called as Zen. Okay.
Okay.
So but then what happens is that we have only access to the infrastructure layer, not the inside hypervisor and things like that.
Okay. Okay.
So, okay, so whatever you're telling is absolutely correct because you take the VMware one VM and then you install the application or whatever you want to install. So similarly, the instance is also can be actually compared to that. Okay,
Okay.
so now this PPT that I have actually created is basically for a basic. So since you already have a this thing, what do you say? A little background, you know. So I will just run through it. Uh, let's see if it helps you in any way understanding. So you are already aware of cloud, right? What is a cloud
Yeah.
and why people are actually moving to cloud? You know,
Yeah.
entire companies are moving to cloud because these are the actually advantage. You have elasticity, pay as you grow, in-house infrastructure, reliability, and cost. Okay. So since you are network specialist, you know, right? Any server which you are taking it to the data center, you need to rack them, stack them. You know that
Yeah. Yeah.
procedure is there.
Yeah.
And then once you buy a server or any network device, or if you buy any Cisco router or PIX or anything, that will be cost you a lot of money to your organization. But here, if if you are doing anything, you are actually using the services and paying only for what you are using it. Okay, you're not paying upfront. Okay, so if you are using it for a month and then at the end of the month you are getting the bill for that. In case if you don't require that, you can actually stop that services or terminate that services. But whereas in-house data centers, if once you get the product, you have to keep it with you. There is no way other than this. Okay,
Okay.
so now if you see the reason why actually you want to go for AWS is because the AWS is still the leader in infrastructure as a service. Okay, followed by Microsoft and Google. And this is taken from the Gartner report 2009. This is the latest one. Okay, so the market is still using AWS because it's more of a cost effective and things like that. If you have environment which is having Linux, Windows, and things like that, go for AWS. And if you have 100% or 99, 95% Windows, then your company decides to go with Microsoft. Okay, they can give you Azure and all. So depends. Okay, few organizations have both AWS and Azure. Okay, because if the entire AWS site is down, then probably you have Azure also. Few of the clients are there who can shell out some good amount of money. Okay, so this is EC2 instance. Just like what you told that you have a VM and you give the instance things like that. So you have here also. So I will give you a practical also. Okay,
Mhm.
and then EC2 the server. What kind of server you need to have? That is also a criteria is there. Okay, when do you go for on demand? When you go for a reserved instance? Okay, spot instance, dedicated host. Tomorrow, if you're working as a solution architect, then probably you should take a call which one to take. Okay, if it is a you have a Hadoop cluster which with the 256 nodes, then probably which node which instance we should go for. Okay, or if you are managing some project for only a 6 months duration, in which EC2 instance you should go for so that it is cost effective to your company or a project. Okay, so that also we will discuss. Okay, so when to take on demand, when to take reserve and spot, and what is the responsibility of shared responsibility between AWS and the if you are managing. Okay, because all those information, for example, if there is a it says AWS is responsible managing the hypervisor and physical layer for the security. Okay, so DDoS protection. If somebody is trying to do a DOS attack on your environment, then you need to contact AWS and tell them about it. Port scanning protection. Okay, you cannot just do a port scanning on any of the machines. You need to take the permission from the AWS and other stuff like firewall. Your creating of your networks and everything comes under our this thing, our scope. Okay, so similarly you will have for us, if you have a server, then you need to have an operating system, right? So for operating system you have here images. Okay, so it is pre-built in images, and you can actually buy in the marketplace also. It will be charged you if you want to get a specialized, for example, Juniper or something like that. This thing you can get an AMI image of that, and it will be charged you per month. Similarly, if you're working in company, actually, so what happens is that any company will have their own AMI. Okay, so you can create your AMI. We'll see that how do you create an AMI. Okay, if one server is there in one region, for example, if I am working in Hyderabad, the server is there, but I want to have a similar server in Singapore. Okay, then how do we use AMI and then launch a server there, something like that. Okay, we just cannot take out this and put it there, so you need to create an image of that and then launch there. So we will see that how do we do it from one region to the other region. Then you have something, a concept called load balancer. Okay, in network also you have load balancers, right? So similarly here also you have network. So here also you have a load balancer which manages the load. Okay, and then basing on your what requirement you have, you can go for application load balancer, you can go for classic load balancer, you can go for network load balancer. Okay, depends. Application load balancer will have more features when compared to classic load balancer, and network will be something related to if you have more TCP IP packets, traffic, or for other use cases, that also will have a look at it. So basically your environment will have something like a user is connecting to your machines, then it has to go through a load balancer, because if you are giving one machine only to an internet for user to connect whatever application you're running, right? So all this will be going to one instance only, one server. Okay, so now that server is exposed to the internet. Okay, so there are a lot of things I can do when I am actually having the IP address, or know that this machine is publicly available. So, and if that machine goes down, then your entire business goes down. So what you can do is you can have multiple instances or servers, and you can have one Amazon elastic load balancer. Okay, you don't have to worry about anything traffic and all. It will go to the load balancer of Amazon, and then from there it gets distributed. Okay, so that way you can actually see that load is this is actually equally distributed there. So after that you have something like that auto scaling part. Okay, so auto scaling, what it does is actually maintains, for example, if you have one server, two servers giving the applications, right? So what you can do is if one server goes down, one server is actually taking care of it. So if you have auto scaling, automatically it will maintain that two servers at a time should be there. Okay, so your application is running from this and this, so always maintain two servers or more than two. So auto scaling is something which is actually automatically it is scaling for tomorrow. If you're you have a sale in your company website, so what you do is you can actually use auto scaling, and if the demand is more, automatically more instance will be added to that. Okay, so you don't have to do any of the manual work. Okay, if the traffic reduces, if the number of users, now the sale has ended, uh, goes away, then automatically infrastructure is scaling down. So all these things we'll be doing it practically and seeing how we can actually scale up and scale down an application. Okay, so this way you are actually managing your infrastructure effectively, cost effectively, I would say, without any hiccups. Okay, so then you have storages in this. You have your block storage, right? Block storage is used for installing operating system and things like that. Similarly, you have object storage where you can have your image and static website data. So in Amazon you have S3, okay, simple storage services, okay, which gives you the option to launch your website also, static website, okay, and then you can just put your just like a Dropbox. Dropbox works on this technology only. Interface is using by Dropbox, but behind the scene it is using the S3 buckets. Okay, so bucket is nothing but a folder. So you have all the objects, whatever you keep it here, you can keep it in S3. So that we will see. It's an object storage. So what can we do? How do we do the life cycle management? What is cross-region replication? Okay, all these things can be done. So this is very important part for S3 because you can take a database storage backup and then you can put it in S3 and then probably you can actually take that data and you can create one more instance and do populate the data there. So there are a lot of things that you can do. You can have a static website data there. You can have your photographs, videos, everything can be loaded there, and it gives you a link that you can share it with others and they can access if you give the object permission. So then again it is standard, infrequently accessed, okay, and you have a Glacier. Tomorrow if you have a lot of backup happening, you can put it, archive it in the Glacier, so something like that, okay. So then you have a VPC. This is a network part which actually gives you the entire virtual private cloud where you can spin up your own public and private subnets, okay, and you can scale it. You can depends upon whether you take class A, class B, class C, whatever IP addresses you take and how many IP addresses you require for that. You can do it in VPC part. You can have your own network setup, okay. So then you have network access control list. All these things are there, okay. Then you have subnets. You're already aware of subnets, right? I don't have to go through the subnet, okay. So here you have route tables. All these things we will be covering in practical. So let me give you a small demo, okay. I will just stop the theory now. So here I have a running instance, okay. So basically when you get started, do you have account in AWS by any chance? No.
No.
Okay. So when we get started, we will get started with the AWS account. So when you create an account, you will have a, if I want to launch a instance, okay, just a normal server. So it becomes very easy for you because if you there are a few services. Let me just go and give you this thing. So these are the services which actually AWS is offering. Okay, you have a compute, you have a storage. If you see, okay, customer enablement, end users, security and compliance. Okay, so every and now and then it keeps adding these services uh, in the AWS this dashboards, okay. So that is why it is becoming very famous that everything now you can do it through the cloud, okay. So in solution architect we will be actually covering few of them like EC2 instance, okay, S3, VPC, Lambda, okay, and other things like RDS and everything. So what I'll do is I'll just show you how do you, since you are new to something like this, I can show you how to spin up an EC2 instance, okay. So this is where I have actually, right. So I have already one instance running, okay. So this gives you that that the number of servers that we have only one, the volume we have one, the key pair, Amazon use key pair to connect from your machine to their machine. Usually use username and password, but here they use public and private key. Okay, they have a private public key, you have a private key, and both if the matches algorithm, then it gets connected. You can assign an elastic IP. Elastic IP is like it will be a fixed IP. Okay, so if you, it will not be, if you have an server that you don't want the IP address to be keep changing, then you assign elastic IP. Because what happens is whenever you have an instance running, right? I
Okay.
have an instance here. So what I'll do is I'll just go to action, and if I say stop, okay. So now if you see at the bottom you have something like IPv4 public IP 3.15.205.197, correct?
Yes.
So here it is. Okay. So if I just can go action and I say instance stop, and if I stop the instance, say for some reason I have actually facing some slowness in my instance. So I need to stop it, because whenever you stop an instance, it launches the other instance in the other hypervisor. Okay,
Okay.
so that's actually good part of it. So whenever it starts in the other hypervisor, so whenever it's a real time actually. The real time, what you do is if you're facing any issue, you stop that instance, take the permission or whoever the stakeholder is. Okay,
Yes.
and then when you start it, it goes to the other hypervisor. So uh, the physical machine which is facing the issue now, the instance is not in that. It has moved to this some other machine as
Okay.
per Amazon. Okay, so what I do is now I have stopped it. So the IPv4 address has gone. So if I just go ahead and start the instance again, so it says pending. It's just starting now. And whenever it launches or starts the instances, right, it does the initialization.
Okay.
So initialization is something like it is checking the infrastructure hardware on which machine it is running, right? If you can check here, it says system status check. Okay, it monitors the AWS system required to use the instance to ensure they are functioning properly. And then this is a software and network connection check. So this two checks it does
Okay.
whenever the systems comes up, and then it fails if any one of them are having issues.
Okay.
Okay, and then it gives you a something like 2 by 2 check. Okay, so now if you see here, a while back I've told you that, right, the IP address was starting from 3, so now
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
has actually became 18, right?
Yes.
Another, correct?
Yes.
So in order to actually, so every time you cannot have an IP address, right? You cannot go and check, or my IP address change, I need to, you know, get the new IP address. Okay, you can either take this one, host name, okay, the this thing, the DNS name. Otherwise you have, what you have to do is, once the machine comes up, we can assign it an elastic IP. How do we do that? I'll tell you.
So
Okay, so
Elastic
now
IP is nothing but like static IP.
fixed IP, correct? Yeah, it's nothing but a fixed IP. So if you assign an elastic IP, if you stop it, reboot it, the IP address remains the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so either you can, if your organization have a set of pool of IP addresses, right?
Okay.
They can take it from, you can take it from your pool of IP addresses, or you, Amazon will assign it to you.
Okay.
I will show you a small demo for that. I'll just go ahead and check if I can assign one IP address to it. So it is still in the initialization phase, right? Okay, so these are the options actually. Once you launch an instance, right? How do you connect? You can either connect through PuTTY. Okay, I
Okay.
think you have your you know PuTTY, right? You connect
Yes. Yes.
machines from PuTTY. Yeah. So when you connect to PuTTY, what happens is by default Amazon will give you a PEM file. Okay,
Okay.
so PEM file has to be you have to change it PEM file from PPK file. So that is through PuTTY Gen. Okay, if time permits, we will see that also. So otherwise, if you are using any Linux box, then you can use this command to connect to that machine. So basically, in our enterprise environment like IBM or any other big companies, they will have them Bastion host, right? Jump servers or Bastion host, where you can log into one machine, and then from one machine you log into the different machines. Correct? So the client network. So this is the IP address that you got, and 2x2 check is completed. And let me just click on action, and if I go to networking, it gives me something like elastic IP. So let me just go and assign the elastic IP first. Okay, and then I say from owned by me. Okay, if you something give like owned by me, then you have to give it here. Something like Amazon pool, then you say allocate, and then it gives me something like 18.191. Something, some IP here. Okay, so something like that, and then you have associate address, and then you can give this demo. Let the private IP be like that, and then I click on associate. Okay, then it says okay, associated address request succeeded. Okay, and then come back to instance. Okay, and now if you see here, it is changed 18.191.62.123 the elastic. Now let me just go back. Now you will ask me, Narendra will ask me, how will you verify, correct? So let me just go ahead and stop that instance, because every time we are stopping the instance, it is changing the IP addresses. So let me stop that instance and say yes, stop, yes. So our was 62.123, right?
Yes.
18 series. Okay. So let's see if we start the same IP or not. Okay. So now it has stopped.
Yep.
Okay. And if I start also, it should remain the same. We'll give it a minute here. Okay.
Yep.
Now this instance of whichever I have a demo, right? It is hosting a web server. It's like if you give that IP address, it should give something like this is a test demo machine or something like that. So let's check that also. Still initializing. But then if you see, the IP address remains the same. So last time when we stopped, the entire thing went away, and a new IP was assigned. If you have observed or not, the entire IP address was. But here, if you stop it, also the IP remains the same. So this is a static IP. So
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So let me just take this IP and put it in the browser. Okay. No, it's not coming. Okay, still initializing. Okay. All right. So probably I'll have to log into that machine and check for the HTTP services if it is running or not. So this is how we do it. Okay. So this is how we actually started the elastic IP and then assigned IP and things like that. So let me just check the server. Let me log in through PuTTY. Mm. So you're able to see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. So I log in as the virtual machine as easy to user and takes the key, whatever key we have actually have. And if that web services are properly running, then why it is not running, I need to check that also. Okay. So there you go. Okay. So that I think the web services was down, so I just made it up. So now this whatever IP address we have is a test page, it says. Okay. So this is a small demo. So similarly, we will be covering the other stuff. Okay. I usually spin up one instance and show them, but now today I have actually showed you how do we assign a static IP, because every time you start the instance, it loses the IP addresses that it has. Okay.
Yeah.
So similarly, you have something like if you go to the services and if you go to VPC, okay, so here you have all the request, okay, for network. You have your VPC, you have your subnet, okay, and the things like that. Just give me a minute. Huh? Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so this you can create your subnet, you can create routing table, internet gateway, okay, and then you have NAT gateway, VPC peering also we will look at it, NAT, network ACLs and things like that, okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it, the demo from my side. If you have any doubts, then you can ask me.
So I was in a confusion actually. I was like
Okay, go ahead.
go with the demo. So how
Okay,
this AWS will be related to my field.
okay,
So I just come to know from the demo is somewhere like this VPC and all is related to networking, right? So
absolutely.
is that the only service which is related to networking or any other service which I need to learn?
I think you have that, you have something like Route 53 where you create your DNS and things like that.
Okay.
So that is also something related similar to that. So because you have different services, do you have your course content with you? That
Uh,
topics. Let me
just
check
like,
if I have. Yeah, if you have, I'll give you the option to share your screen, and then we can walk through that.
I have to share the screen if you.
Okay, let me. Okay, give me a minute. I probably have to tell the organizer, Teja, to help you with that. Hang on a minute, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you now have the access in the. Do you have the access now?
I'm just checking that. Just give me 1 second.
No problem. Yeah, that's it. That's the one actually.
Yeah.
So when you're talking introduction, I mean the first part is okay. The second introduction to AWS, Elastic Cloud Compute is something related to your servers, right? That is one thing. Private, virtual private cloud is all networking part. Simple storage services is something related to your storage services. Okay, Elastic Block Store is again a storage services. Okay, load balancer, it's an application kind of a thing where you can actually spin up a load balancer, right? It could be anything. It could be a network load balancer. It could be application or classic, whatever. And RDS is your for database. IAM is for your user management if you are having. So you have Route 53 is for your DNS services. Okay, so if you're a network engineer, do you maintain any DNS services in your environment, or somebody else does it?
No, I'm basically part of implementation team. So we do
Oh,
all the
okay, okay.
start it and complete it.
Oh, okay. So
We do
then,
all the Cisco stuff and all route inspection and even
oh, okay, okay. So that probably VPC is one thing which will interest you more. VPC and that is something which will actually help you, because CloudWatch is again, the services is again for your monitoring. Cloud Formation is for automation, the stuff where you can actually create a template and spin up the instances or entire infrastructure. And auto scaling is, I've told you, right? Same thing. Dynamic DB overview. You have AWS calculator, Cloud Trial, security advisor. Probably as a network, you can have a security advisor and architecture of AWS and this is the thing. So this is a basic when you get started with AWS, right? So you have to have a solution architect, and then later on you can go for any specialization. You have, I think, entire network specialization also one certification is there, but then you will have to start somewhere.
Okay, so you need to say this is a basic thing, basic stuff that
Absolutely.
we need to start off with,
Correct.
and
Correct.
later we need to go deep, dig deep into that. Based,
Correct. So you have correct. You whatever you said is absolutely 100% correct. You have one more thing called as a practitioner. Okay, but then
okay,
that is more of for people who are into sales and things like that. Okay,
okay,
that is only for giving you an overview. You'll not get into technicality of that. You got my point, right?
yeah,
So this is where you need to start. Solution architect, and okay, I'm a network specialist. Then you go for network specialization. Okay, I'm a security specialist. Go for security specialization. DevOps,
okay.
go for DevOps. Whatever suits your
So what
suits
would
you.
will be the next thing after this? I mean, related to
Go for
network,
network specialization.
yeah, network.
Correct. So that will be more into IPFSS, routing based and things like that. This will be just an overview. Isn't you will know that will be more into advanced part of it. So yeah,
So that is a totally different thing. I think.
that is something related to your AWS networking part. Same thing,
Okay,
whatever you are managing now, but then it will be on the cloud networking.
okay,
Since if I am into security, then I will do something like security specialization after this. So
okay,
something like that. Okay. So just to make things clear for you, I'm telling you. Okay.
okay.
And all right, sir. I'll not take much time of yours. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's it from my side. Okay. So
okay.
that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice talking
thank
to
you.
you. Okay. All
Yeah,
the best. Bye. Bye.
yeah.